An abridgment of Thomas Manton's commentary on the Epistle of James chapter 3 verse 6. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole person, sets the whole course of his life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. In James 3 verse 6, the apostle vividly applies the analogy of a small fire to an evil tongue, revealing the devastating power of unchecked speech. James speaks of the tongue as a world of evil, a phrase rich with meaning. A world here signifies the abundance of sin and harm that the tongue is capable of producing. Just as the world contains a vast array of good and evil, so too the tongue, though small in size, is filled with the capacity for immense destruction. It is a microcosm of sin, embodying the power to corrupt and defile not only the speaker but those around them as well. James continues by noting that the tongue corrupts the whole person. Some early commentators, like Ephraim Cyrus, saw an allusion here to the leprosy that afflicted Miriam and Aaron for their misuse of speech against Moses, Numbers 12, 1-10. However, this interpretation does not fully capture James' intent. Rather, James emphasizes that the tongue, though it is only one part of the body, taints and defiles the entire person. Sin, though it originates in the soul, is carried out by the body, and the tongue plays a central role in this. Like an infection, it spreads its poison throughout, touching every part of a person's being. The defilement is not limited to isolated words, but seeps into every aspect of life, leading to greater sin and guilt. The phrase "sets on fire" conveys the devastating effect of the tongue. James likens it to a destructive fire that not only blackens but consumes everything in its path. The tongue, inflamed by malice and uncontrolled passions, ignites the fires of anger, violence, and strife. This image of fire points to the profound consequences of loose speech, how it sparks unjust passions and stirs up conflicts. Solomon speaks of the cool spirit that characterizes a prudent man, Proverbs 17 verse 27, a spirit in sharp contrast to the heated words of those whose tongues are set ablaze with fury. We are thus urged to guard our spirits, especially when anger begins to rise. For it is at such moments that the tongue can do the most damage. James also speaks of the tongue affecting the whole course of his life. Some translations render this phrase as the wheel of our nativity, suggesting the entirety of one's existence from birth to death. The tongue's influence is pervasive, touching every action, every age, and every stage of life. No one is immune from its power. The Syriac interpretation, all our generations, further suggests that the evils of the tongue are not confined to any one time or place, but have been known and experienced by all people throughout history. Whether young or old, rich or poor, all are susceptible to the influence of the tongue, and no action or situation is exempt from its reach. James then brings the sobering conclusion that the tongue is itself set on fire by hell. Here, the apostle reveals the true source of the tongue's destructive power, hell itself. The malice and mischief that the tongue spreads are not merely human in origin. They come from the devil, the father of lies, John 8 verse 44. By lies, slander, and malicious speech, the devil sets the world aflame, causing discord, hatred, and destruction. The tongue, when used for evil, is a tool of Satan, participating in the work of hell by spreading the fire of sin throughout the world. This passage invites several important reflections. First, there is a clear parallel between an evil tongue and fire. Like fire, the tongue has the power to heat up conflicts and fuel contention. Just as hot water boils over, so too do unchecked passions spill over into fiery words. Proverbs 16 verse 27 says, "His speech is like a scorching fire, capturing the destructive potential of the tongue. Words spoken in anger or malice are like flames, burning those who hear them and leaving lasting scars." Additionally, fire is inherently dangerous, and just as we must be cautious with physical fire, so must we be vigilant with our speech. The tongue, left uncontrolled, can kindle great divisions and destroy relationships, much like fire can reduce a house to ashes. Proverbs 26 verses 18 to 19 offers a vivid illustration. Like a madman shooting firebrands or deadly arrows is a man who deceives his neighbor and says, "I was only joking." Here, we see the carelessness with which people spread hurtful words, often without realizing the full extent of the damage they cause. Furthermore, just as fire burns deeply, so do reproaches and slanderous words. David, in Psalm 120 verse 4, compares such words to burning coals of the broom tree, known for their long-lasting heat. Just as these coals continue to burn long after the fire is lit, so do hurtful words linger in the hearts of those they injure. Reproaches can leave emotional and spiritual scars that burn long after the initial insult is forgotten. James also reminds us that an evil tongue is kindled from hell, while godly zeal comes from the Spirit of God, as seen in Isaiah's vision of the coal touching his lips, Isaiah 6 verse 6, and the Holy Spirit descending in tongues of fire at Pentecost, Acts 2 verse 3. The fire of an evil tongue originates from below. It is fueled by the malice of Satan, who delights in stirring up strife and division. A tongue set on fire by hell will ultimately lead to hell, for as Jesus warns in Matthew 5 verse 22, anyone who says, "You fool," will be in danger of the fire of hell. Anger, slander, and contemptuous speech come from Satan and lead to his ultimate end, destruction. From this, we learn that the tongue is not only a source of personal sin, but also a means by which we spread evil to others. By our speech, we can seduce others into sin or provoke them to anger, bitterness, or unrighteous actions. The tongue is an instrument of both individual and communal defilement, as it spreads its poison far beyond the individual speaker. Moreover, the sins of the tongue are never isolated. They defile the whole person. What begins with careless speech often leads to sinful actions. When we give the tongue free rein to speak evil, the rest of the body soon follows. Speech is often the precursor to action. First, we think, then we speak, and finally, we act. This progression underscores the importance of guarding our words, for they are often the first step toward deeper sin. James's imagery of the whole course of life being set on fire by the tongue is profound. Our lives are like a wheel, constantly turning and moving toward eternity. The tongue, if not controlled, can set the entire course of life on a destructive path, leading us further away from God's will. The uncertainty and constant motion of life are reflected in this image of the wheel, reminding us that we must be vigilant in every season of life, for the tongue's influence is ever present. Lastly, James points to the universal influence of the tongue's evil. No vocation or station in life is exempt from its corrupting power. Tradesmen, ministers, and even the meekest individuals are susceptible to the temptations of the tongue. Whether in business dealings, preaching, or personal relationships, the tongue can easily be used for selfish gain, lies, or manipulation. Even Moses, the meekest man on earth, was not immune, as his rash words at the waters of Meribah led to his downfall. Psalm 106 verse 33. This serves as a reminder that no one is beyond the need for self-examination and control of the tongue. Ultimately, the wickedness of the tongue originates in hell, and those who indulge in its evils are aligning themselves with the father of lies. Slander, contention, and reproach are eruptions of infernal fire, and those who give themselves over to such speech become instruments of Satan's work. Yet, for those who are slandered and maligned, there is comfort in knowing that the source of such speech is hell itself, and its end will be in hell. Just as the tongue is set on fire by hell, so too will it be judged and consumed in hell's flames if left unrepentant. In this, we see the grave responsibility we bear in how we use our tongues. Our words have the power to build up or to destroy, to bring life or to kindle fires of destruction. As those redeemed by Christ, we are called to use our tongues to glorify God, to edify others, and to speak truth in love. Thus, we must continually seek God's grace to bridle our tongues and align our speech with His will, remembering that every word will be brought into judgment.